الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. As you can see before your eyes, there are some points on the whiteboard. Those who have books, there's no need to write them because they're just derived, summarized from the points before you. I think it's page 56, is that correct, Isa? So those who have books, 56, you can read them directly from your own personal book. And you know we have studied the first stage and we completed it last week. And that was the final stage or the final lesson of the first stage of our Aqidah lessons. And we finalized the first stage with the topic of Jammah. And we thoroughly took the Jammah, the definition linguistically and technically, hence explained it thoroughly in conjunction with the Quran and the authentic Sunnah. So, Alhamdulillah, you have all completed the first stage, which is Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah. So the last 6 or 7 weeks, you should by now know exactly the definition of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah in accordance to the way our beloved teacher Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam defined it to us, and in conjunction with the pious, righteous forebears, the pious predecessors, as-Salaf as-Salih. Now, tonight's lesson, inshaAllah ta'ala, is about the attributes, and as you can see, those who have books in front of them, the attributes of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah. What are their characteristics? What makes them who they are, in other words? What is their qualities? See, every group has qualities, no matter what that group may be. But what makes Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah so profound, so special, so unique? What makes them the saved sect? What makes them the victorious group? This is what the author is tackling at the moment. So you will, insha'Allah ta'ala, فَضَحَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكَ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ وَأَسْقَاكَ insha'Allah min jannatihi النَّعِيمِ. So what makes them special and unique? Why is it so important, but an obligation to adopt this path? We're going to investigate, inshaAllah ta'ala, in accordance to the way the scholar, our author Al-Athari, has described it to us. And we're going to look at the attributes, which is this lesson tonight, inshaAllah, and the following lesson of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah. And as we always do before we initiate, I remind you the great saying of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, that if anyone here is attending tonight for one of the following reasons, either change your intention or dismiss yourself. Number one, if you're here tonight to shame the ignorant with this knowledge, in other words, if your intention here is to gain knowledge and then go out there and shame the ignorant, make fools of them, then you don't belong here. If you're here tonight to desire the eyes of man towards you, in other words, you're here for the sake of this person and that person, not for the sake of Allah. And all you desire is with your knowledge that you show off with it. If you're here for that reason, again, you either change your intention immediately before you initiate, or with all respect, dismiss yourself. And you're better off. Or if you're here tonight to acquire this beautiful acquisition in order to argue with the fuqaha, argue with those people of knowledge, in order to show, again, it's a means of showing off, to show that you have something with you, that you are knowledgeable. So you start arguing with those people of knowledge. If you're here for that reason, or for this reason, again, change your intention, or you still got a chance, or with respect, dismiss yourself. So without further, inshallah, delay, we're going to initiate with the attributes of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jammah. So these are the qualities that make them special, that make them unique. Number one, as we can see on the board, they always adopt the middle way and do not exaggerate. They always adopt the middle path and they do not go beyond it. This is one of the most prominent, understand this, is one of the most prominent characteristics of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jammah, is that they live their lives and they practice the deed that they have adopted for the sake of Allah in the most moderate and balanced way. What does this mean? Now all this is in conjunction with the Quranic injunction mentioned in Al-Baqarah, وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. Thus we made you a wasat nation. Listen carefully, because we don't want you to misunderstand the term moderate, because it's been abused and hijacked today by many. But the reality of the matter is, one of the most prominent qualities of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that they are wasat, moderate. What does moderate mean here? It means that they are just and balanced. They are a nation. Islam is a nation that is just and balanced. They don't go to either side. They don't go to either extreme, in other words. So they are between extremism and they are between negligence. Not too extreme in that area, nor are they too extreme in that area. What does this mean? Who can give me an example of extremism that they are not? Mustafa. The Khawarij are extremists. They were on a very extreme path. They made takfir of all the Muslims simply because they did not agree with them. Like one of the main attributes of them was, or still is, if they do exist to a certain degree, is that anyone that committed a major sin is a kafir. Hence he will abide eternally in hellfire if he dies on a major sin. This is extremism. This is taking Islam to extreme, and this is haram. And Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah are totally against this path. Okay, an example of negligence, Lisa.
I was going to answer that one.
Not a problem. Mustafa again.
The
The Murji'ah. Who are the Murji'ah? The Murji'ah are individuals or group that claim that action is not a condition of Iman, of faith. In other words, you can have belief, strong belief, simply if you believe in the heart. And there's no need whatsoever to pray, to fast, to perform pilgrimage, or to do any actions at all. And they say, as long as you have faith in the heart, your Iman is as strong as Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Although you do nothing to prove it. That's al-Murji'ah. So that's extreme towards negligence, while the other group is extreme towards extremism. Both are evil. Both are rejected. And Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah reject both areas, both avenues. We are in the middle. We are moderate. We don't say in the negligent sort of term, Allahu Ghafurun Rahim, He will forgive, don't worry. There's no need to wear hijab. There's no need to pray. There's no need to, grow a beard. Allahu Ghafurun Rahim. And we hear this all the time, especially those, Lebanese individuals that are here tonight. We hear it all the time. I'm not sure about other people. I know my own race. الإيمان بالقلب عندي إيمان لا أتكلم عن أحد أنا الحمد لله مؤمن. هذا ليس بإيمان. This is not Iman. This is not Iman. This is extremism in negligence. So Islam rejects both these sides. So Ahlus Sunnah Jama'ah are in the middle of these two. And that's the definition of wasata. Just and balance. What makes us different from these two groups is that we adopt the moderate view according to the Sunnah. See, it's not according to what you think. It's not according to your opinion or what you believe or I think this is moderate. No, you have no say in this. Moderate is what Muhammad ﷺ considered moderate. And we're going to have a few examples from that, inshallah. If you look at the gem of a necklace, where is it, Yatoha? The gem. Where is it? In the middle, yes. The gem is always in the middle. If you look at the leader of people, where does he stand? In the middle. The sun, when it's at its strongest, at its peak, when is it? When it's at its reach, its meridian, which is what's the meridian? The middle of the sky. It becomes strong and powerful. Likewise, they say man is strongest at his peak during when, Jammah? During the middle of his life, his age. And are you've reached it, haven't you? I'm still way away. I'm still way on the bottom side of that. You've reached it, haven't you? Tabarakallah, you're still. You haven't got there yet, huh? But I see you as the strongest ever. Tabarakallah. But Feiz is definitely in the middle now. What do you reckon, Feiz in the middle? Tabarakallah. So the things that are in the middle are protected and safe. And that's commonly understood. Anything and everything in the middle is surrounded, is protected with a bubble. It's like a shield, a guard around you. While things on either side or to either extreme are always subject to danger and risks. That's what they say. Moderation equals protection and safety, while extremism equals diversion, disruption, destruction, and evil. Hence, our beloved teacher, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, categorically, he condemned every part of extremism and excessive behavior. And this is why he made sure that all his companions behaved moderately. They always adopted the moderate path. And if he saw anything from them, he will immediately correct them. We've got an example of Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Alaysa kadhalik ya Sheikh? Once Mu'adh ibn Jabal, he was praying. Radiallahu anhu. And he prolonged the prayer so long, I think it was Isha prayer, that the people that were praying behind him, and there was a large congregation, they became agitated. So much so that one of them at least withdrew from the prayer while he is still praying. This is a companion we're talking about. We're not talking about just a layman individual who has no clue in the world. A companion withdraws himself from the prayer. The Imam is Mu'adh ibn Jabal. His name is Al-Jabal indeed, the mountain of knowledge. And of Imam, inshaAllah ta'ala, he withdraws himself, doesn't go home. He goes directly to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and says, Ya Rasulullah, I'm complaining about Mu'adh, our Imam. So he listened to his complaint. Did he rebuke him? Did he scorn him, scold him, push him away, say, Taqillah, how dare you leave the prayer? No. None of that. In fact, he went to Mu'adh, approached him, and said, Afatanun anta ya Mu'adh, 3 times. Are you putting people on trial, ya Mu'adh? Are you putting people on trial, ya Mu'adh? Are you putting people on trial, ya Mu'adh? How can you prolong the prayer? Behind you are those who have needs, who are old, who are sick, who need to leave. When you pray by yourself, pray as long as you want. But when you're praying as the Imam, don't forget to consider who's behind you. That's extremism. See, Mu'adh obviously is an example. He was taught. He rectified his action. But he didn't know it was extreme. He was told that is extreme. And that is extreme. That example is a perfect example of extreme behavior, which Islam rebukes. Another example is, we all know, when Muhammad sallam refuted the three individuals. That's a classical example. When the three men came and desired to do a manner of worship, a way of worship, against the way he taught them. So they forbade for themselves that which Allah made lawful, and that indeed is severe extremism. When you make for yourself haram what Allah made halal, that is haram. That is extremism. So these three said, we're not going to, narrate the whole story, it's pretty long. You all know it. One of them said, I'm going to fast every single day. Every single day and never break the fast, meaning every day I'm going to fast. The other one said, I'm going to pray all night and not sleep. And the third said, I'm not going to marry the woman. You know, what do they desire from all this? What's their intention, Ya Yusuf? To get close to Allah Ta'ala. So their intentions in reality are appropriate. You know, they're praiseworthy. On the outside, it is praiseworthy. But is it? No, it isn't. It's blameworthy. Why? Because it's not in conjunction. It does not concur, agree with her, our teacher, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's not moderate view, because it didn't come from him. So anything that does not come from him is extremism or negligence. Innovation, understand this. Every innovated act is either extreme or negligence. That's how it is. Every innovated act, either side it belongs, not to the moderate view, to either this or to either that. So what did he say when he's heard this, this desire? He said, I am the one who fears Allah most. I am the most pious of you all. So in other words, see how he introduced it? That, who are you and who am I? I'm the one that is closest to Allah Ta'ala. I know Allah better than all of you. I am more pious than all of you. So how can you desire a path other than mine? What, is your way better than mine? You think you're worshipping Allah better than I am? You think I'm not good enough in my worship and you want something new and teach others that which is not my path? And then he said his golden statement. What did he say? He said, I pray at night and I sleep. Because Allah made the night for rest. Allah made the night for rest. I fast some days and I break fast other days. And I marry the woman. That's half your deen, marrying the woman. Correct, Faisal? Oh, half of your deen when you marry. And then he said the treacherous statement. Man raghiba an sunnati falaysa minni. If you desire, our ummah is talking to us. If you desire a path, a way that does not agree to the way I have lived, to the way I worshipped Allah, to the way I taught you, then you're not from my ummah, or you're not of my ummah. You're not one of my followers. فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي. You're not from me. I don't know what deen you're following, but it's not my Islam. It's not the way I taught you. See how beautiful Islam is now, seriously, isn't that beautiful? There was no need for us to try to invent or introduce novelties in Islam. There's no need for us to try to work hard and exert ourselves and exhaust ourselves and try to execute a method or a way, a methodology to get to Allah. It's been placed for us. So there's no need to analyze a curriculum that's going to be on a high profile for every single one of us, and we say, this is the package. This is the package that will get us to Jannah. No, that will get you to hellfire. Because the package is already there for you. And that is the Sunnah of Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Anything that he did not do, approve, say is not Islam. It's period. It's not Islam. So change it. And we have the beautiful narration, that's extremism. These three were extremists. In which way? Ya Muhammad al-Mannawi, which way? Extreme in which way? To negligence or the extreme extremism? That's my term, mind you. But which way is it? Allah ذكائك علمناك بإذن الذي علمنا نحن ما حبهدلك although it does have الحين anyway. Omar, you're the Manawi as well. Help your Manawi brother, come on.
Negligence.
Astaghfirullah. I thought you had it there. Are you just trying to make us smile? Well, it doesn't really befit this. Astaghfirullah. Extreme. Extremism in extremism. That's what it is. Because they're doing worship. They're not neglecting. In fact, they're doing the most extreme of worship in a way that was not taught. So that's extremism to the max. That's the pinnacle. That's optimum extremism. Who knows Abu Darda? Have you heard of Abu Darda? Abu Darda is a story in Bukhari, very famous narration, where Abu Darda, radiallahu anhu, in fact, when Muhammad came to Medina, he made the bond of brotherhood between two companions, although he made many other bonds, but these two particular individuals, Abu Darda and Salman al-Farisi. So he made the bond of brotherhood between the two of them. Now, one day Salman went to the house of his brother, Abu Darda. He didn't see Abu Darda there, he noticed his wife there, but she was dressed in a very shabby, unkept way. Like rags and this and that, she looked very unkept. So he said to her, Salman asked her, "Ya Abu Darda, why? Why are you in such a state?" She said, "Your brother, Abu Darda, has no interest in the luxuries of the world. He's an ascetic. He became ascetic towards worldly possessions. A Sufi, in other words. Linguistic Sufism, not the technical Sufism. Don't go there. Linguistically meaning he was ascetic towards worldly desire. Technical Sufism in the sense of the pinnacles can reach kufr ultimately. But every single one of us to a certain degree, be careful of this. We are all Sufis to a certain degree. Linguistic Sufis, not the technical Sufi, the one that is blameworthy. Because what Sufism really means, linguistically, is that you abandon, you disown, you don't desire luxuries of this earth. That's linguistic Sufism. And that could be praiseworthy to a certain degree. To a certain degree, as long as you don't make haram or Allah made lawful for you. So, she said, your brother Abu Darda, he's got no interest. Meaning, not in me, not in the food, not in the home, not in anything. He's got no interest in luxuries of the world. So he waited for him until he came. Now the story, as you all know, is a pretty long story. We're not going to get into deep detail. But when he did come, after a long night, a long time, the next day, it was in the morning before Fajr, he said, "Ya Aba Darda, li rabbika alayka haqq, li jismika alayka haqq, wa li ahlika alayka haqq." Your Lord has a right upon you. Your body has a right upon you. Your family has a right upon you. Give every single right, or every single one, their due proportion, their right. Don't wrong any of them. Now Abu Darda, when he heard this, he was still a bit shocked, or not that he didn't believe, he was still unsure of this statement. So he ran to him, to the greatest man, to ask, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he said, "Ya Rasulullah," narrating the whole incident that occurred between him and Salman. And the response was in a few words, Salman is right. Salman has spoken the truth. Ya ikhwati al-a'izza wa ya akhwat, brothers and sisters, don't take this as something basic. You got a Lord that you got to worship. You got a body that you can worship Allah even through it. You got a family that you can worship Allah if you intend the correct things with your family. All of it is worship. But if you abandon, if you neglect, if you disown any one of these, you're committing a sin. It could be major or minor, depending on what you do. Don't ever, ever abandon any of these three. And give them their due right. For example, many of us, and this is it's understandable, we all do it due to our human nature. We are weak by nature. We may accidentally neglect our family, whether it's children, whether it's our wife or wives, whether it's our relatives, but in particular our wives and children. Many of us, I'm saying accidentally, we don't even know we're doing it until it's too late. We abandon them. We go and sit with the brothers day and night, night and night, every day, in coffee shops or whatever it may be, going out fishing, going, while the maskini at home doesn't even get any time with you. Or your kids don't even know to kick a ball with you, and so forth, so on. You can't. You've got to give them right. You've got to give them time, especially your wife. Otherwise, you destroy her mentally. You destroy her faculties. You destroy her physically. She's a human being. She has sensitivity. She has emotions. She has feelings. As your kids have. As your body does. Likewise, give your body its right. And what does it mean? When he said, and your body has a right upon you, there's a definition behind it. There's a definition behind it. And that is, eat good food. Drink the correct drinks. Eat and drink only that which will be healthy for your body. Don't abuse your body. Don't eat too much and harm your body. You are not giving your body your right if you do such. So many of us have not understood this. Now I'm going to stop.
What if somebody wants to get used to, say he's preparing for something and trying to make his body get used to something and stays away from water sometimes, stays away from food sometimes so he can get his body used to it. What does that
As long as you are not detrimenting your health, which could lead to your destruction. You understand what I'm saying? If you, by doing that, is going to detriment your health, your organs, your internal organs, your body, your ability to worship Allah, then you are not allowed to do that. If it's not harming that area, there's no problem. Because the only reason that we eat and drink is to worship Allah Ta'ala. That's the main call for why we eat. Understand that? The bedrock of our food exists in us to worship Allah Ta'ala, period. That's why he said, it suffices one of you to have a few morsels of food to keep your backbone straight. So you can worship Allah, in other words. So you have the ability to move, to maneuver, and to worship Allah as He deserves to be worshipped. But if you are unable, he said, to control a few morsels, there's no way in the world any of us are able, I'm telling you now, then have a third full of water, a third full of food, and a third for rest. See, we only know that last part of the hadith. But the reality of the matter is, it's the first part of the hadith that's more important. But today, we not only go beyond this 3/3 of food, we go beyond that, hence the hospitals are packed. Due to what we consume, the way we eat, the way we drink, the way we live our lives. Because most of us, I'm not joking here, seriously, most of us are not giving our rights to our bodies. I'm talking about the majority of us. That's why the hospitals are jam-packed, because of this problem. And that is because they're not taking the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's extreme negligence, that side of it. You're being negligent. You're not giving your body its due right. So basically, as you can see again, these three, any of these three will damage you. And that's not the moderate path. Unless you give every single one its due proportion, its right, then you are not being moderate in that area. There's actually a beautiful narration that mentions this deen, this religion, he says, is easy. No one becomes harsh or strict in this religion, but it overwhelms him. It envelops him and destroys him. Hadith. So fulfill your duties towards your Lord as best as you can. Islam is beautiful, wallahi it is. There's nothing in Islam that's too difficult. There's nothing hard. If you adopt this first attribute of Ahlas wal Jammah, you will never have a problem in anything, in your life and in your worship. Wallahi, you will not, because you've given it its right. But because we are negligent in that area to either part, then we fall into predicaments and predicaments and predicaments. And it's no one but your fault. So understand. On a side note, I would like to mention, since we're still on that first one, today most of us build our actions on emotion. We know that Allah is the place that we refer to our law, His book, Allah's book, or the Sunnah of Muhammad. But unfortunately, we have feelings. And that feelings sometimes drive us in an area you should not go. And that's called emotion. It's a powerful emotion. It's about anger, rage. You begin to roar. It creeps into you and you're all worked up. Hence you cannot control your tongue. It becomes inflammatory rhetoric. You don't know what you're saying. Just nonsense and gibberish. It's due to emotion. You no longer have that consciousness in you. You're no longer aware of your behavior. That's the state we fall into. Hence we judge or we build our actions claiming it as Islam when it's not. It's nothing but actions of emotion or a result of emotion. We see, for example, a few YouTube videos. The graphic design and the sheet behind it, and we get pumped up. Nothing to do with Allah Ta'ala or the hadith, no, just emotion. And we get affected by it. It's passionate. It affects you. Or we listen to some racist on talkback radio, battering Islam. Or we read a few magazines or a few articles in newspapers, again, hammering supposedly Islam. Or we look at the news day after day and we see how the campaign against Islam is so vicious, how Muslims are being labelled with defamatory terms day after day, how the world of Islam is in turmoil, tribulations and trials and tests. Hence, what happens to us? It's creating this blood. It's flowing in us. What's going on today? It's creating that anger. That's emotion. Where the devil flows through your blood at hypersonic speed. And he's just rushing, and he's causing that feeling inside you. Hence you blow up. It's an outburst of disaster. Because you no longer are conscious of the reality. You no longer build your actions on what the Quran and Sunnah has taught you. You build your actions and you adopt it according to your emotion. This is not the way of Islam. Islam is not built or driven by emotion. That's why all the time when you see people who are angry, whether it's to a couple, whether it's between children, whether it's between business, whatever it may be, calm down before you speak. Relax. Just take it easy. Don't talk to a person who's in a state of anger, ever. You get no consciousness out of him, no conscious sort of behavior. Nothing's going to come out of him is going to be good. He's not in a state of mind to talk good. We must not panic. We must not respond to any kind of provocation that will bring this beautiful deen of Allah into disrepute. We are daddies. We are preachers. But when we speak out of emotion, we may end up belittling this beautiful deen without even knowing to others. Always be careful. Could we ever imagine the greatest man, throwing temper tantrums? Come on, can we? I don't think so. Can we ever imagine him hurling insult and abuse and slander and cursing and slandering other people? No, I don't think so. Would he ever act or behave in a derogative, mischievous way? Absolutely not. He was the messenger of mercy, not the messenger of revenge. Bruised egos and mob violence has no room in Ahlas and Jammah. It's rebuked, it's thrown out the window. SubhanAllah, even in the most dangerous times, our teacher exemplified a model of dignity, of good conduct. He taught us and he showed us. One time an Arab man, a Bedouin, and we all know the Bedouin Arabs, They're shrewd and crude and rough individuals. He yanked him by his cloak, almost strangled him. Abu Bakr was going to come and slice his neck off that. The Arab, he goes, leave him alone. And this Arab nomad, who was a leader of his people, said, give me what Allah has given you of your wealth. Bilal, can you close the window? The devil is coming in. So basically, what did he say? Boys, get him? No, of course not. He's got, like I said, he's a merciful person, compassionate. He's got mercy in him. He wants people to be on the path of Jannah. So even those that did that, he knew that they were ignorant people. They got no clue. They have no clue, they really don't. So he felt for them. Not felt for them anger and wanted to, to retaliate. No, he felt mercy and compassion. He said, see that sheep over there that hurt his sheep? Take it, it's all yours. And he took it all. He went back to his community and he said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. And they all embraced Islam. A basic incident, which he could easily have taken revenge. No, he felt. And we all know the story of Taif, do we not? He was staggering through the streets, walking away from them, and this is them throwing stones at him. He was bleeding profusely. His tooth was broken. He could barely walk. And when the angel came down and said, Ya Rasulullah, give me the green light and I'll cause the people of Taif and all Taif to be crushed. Look what they're doing to you. He said, no. Because Allah did not send me as a messenger of revenge. He sent me as a messenger of mercy. Maybe, he said, what he said, one day from their loin, one of their kids might come out saying La ilaha illallah. And not long after that, what happened? The whole of Taif became Muslim. See the attitude? It wasn't harsh. It wasn't hard-hearted. It was affectionate, loving, caring, merciful, tolerant, patient, forbearant, he felt. Because he saw that which we did not see. لو رأيت ما رأيت لضحكت قليلا ولبكيت كثيرا. If you had just seen what I had seen, you would laugh little and cry a lot. What was it, Ya Rasulullah? I saw Jannah and I saw hellfire. So he saw the destination of the mischievous. He did not want anyone to go there. Hence, he taught us the path of moderate, of how to be real Muslims. So be very careful. It doesn't usually affect us older generation. We're the older people, or majority here are, you can say, the middle class. It affects usually the teens from about 12 or 13 to about 23, 24. But the late teens in general, this, propaganda, whatever it may be, on YouTube today, it does change, it diverts you emotionally, not Islamically, emotionally, to feel that rage. Hence they build their actions built on this emotion, and that's when the problems occur. Not built on wisdom, not built on beautiful preaching, not built on Islam, but built on emotion. We all feel the Ummah is one. We are one body. As the hadith says, that the believers in their affection, their mercy, their compassion for each other is like that of a body. If one limb suffers, the whole body reacts in sleeplessness and fever. We do feel. But we don't feel emotionally in the sense where it drives us to a negative aspect, a negative action. What drives us in our dunya when it comes to Amilu Salihat is what he commanded us to do and no other. Is there any problem with the first one? Went a bit too long, but anyway. Kabich, everyone? So we all understand what's going on.
Raining.
Raining? Raining what?
Raining.
It's training. MashaAllah. Really? Is that military? نعم. حيا الله وعبد الله ما عرفنا عنه مجمع. واحد ما بيشوف نور اخطأنا سامحنا يا ابو عبد الله اخطأنا معك. Number 2, they are contented with the Quran and Sunnah only as the basis of all religious matters. I'm going to intertwine that with the third one as well, so we don't take too much time. Ahlus Sunnah has no other leader except the leader of leaders, Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now the Quran clearly explains that the function of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was not merely that of a delivery man who simply delivers the message, the revelation from your Lord, period, finished. You know the old style, who was in the old days with me? Ashraf, you were in the old days with me. I'm a bit older than you. I shouldn't really go to Feiz, but anyway. You remember the old milkman? You know, he used to deliver those bottles. That was so tasty. It tastes always better from a bottle. It does, it really does. You know, the milk, it's tastier when it's in a bottle. It feels colder, it feels more fresh, and it's got a nice taste to it. In the olden days, what they used to do, you had the milkman go to every single one's house, whoever obviously ordered it, and he put a bottle, 2 bottles, 3 bottles, it depends. And if there's a bodybuilder ended like this guy, he put 20 bottles in there, correct? So, you put the bottles there, deliver them in front of your house, and then he will go. And then he will go. What's he called? A delivery man. Now, our Prophet ﷺ, he was a delivery man as well, but not like that. He did not merely deliver, thank you very much, I'll see you later, Allah ma'akum, Allah maridkum. No, he wasn't like that. He was entrusted with the greatest, most important task of what? Of explaining and illustrating that which he had with him, which is the revelation. So not only was he a delivery man, but he was entrusted, obligated in other words, to explain and illustrate the message that he brought. That's why he was the living Quran. His character was the Quran. He was the Quran in motion. His life was an embodiment of the whole Quran itself. Every single word, every act of worship related to no other than the guidance of the Quran. Never did he worship Allah according to himself or what he believed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the ways of worshipping him and taught us that وَمَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. This is the reason behind this beautiful verse in Al-Hashr, that whatever he gives you, all human beings, all Muslims, you got no choice but to take it. And when he told you to leave it, you better leave it. You better leave it, not a matter of choice, not whether I like it or I understand it. What's the wisdom? Leave it. Iskut, leave it. Say سمعنا وأطعنا. And that's why he said لقد كان لكم في رسول الله what? أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر. Indeed, in the Messenger of Allah, you have an example, a golden example to follow. For whom? For those who want to be Allah in a state of goodness, of acceptance. So basically his example is not to be looked at and say, Tabarakallah, what a life this person lived. Tabarakallah, it's so beautiful, I'm going to tell it to my kids. No. Yes, tell it to the kids and your family and everyone else, but tell them that you've got to live what you're being told. That's the example that we must follow. The example means a parable. His life was a paradigm. His life was for us to study, and everything that you study that he did, you have to do. That's what the example means here. You have to follow his way of life. You have no option. You have no choice but to follow him. Otherwise you are not from Ahlus Sunnah wal Jammah. You're exempted from this group. As the beautiful hadith mentions, he goes, if Musa ibn Imran was here today, he would have done nothing but follow me. That's the great messenger Moses, who had the second largest following of all humans. He was the second largest group after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yet if he was living today, as the hadith says, he would have done nothing but follow who? Mustafa? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So who are we? If a messenger would have only followed him, obligated, who in the world are we not to follow him? Obviously, we are obligated before anyone else because we're from Islam. And there are many evidences to this. فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. Whenever you differ amongst yourselves, what do? Allah tells you what to do. Return it back to Allah and His Messenger. This is where many go wrong. They return it today, unfortunately, to the courtyards and courthouses and the kufr law. The law built on Taghut. They prefer to go to that. And wallahi, it's sad that the course today, unfortunately, you see a lot of hijabis in there, and a lot of beads fighting each other. Like, where are you? Where's your Islam? Where's your faith in Allah Ta'ala? Where's your iman that you claim in your taqwa? How dare you step into a court of Taghut knowingly when you got the court of Allah there? You can easily reconcile, fix or solve any problem in your dunya under the correct guidance, the guidance of the Quran and Sunnah. So it's extremely, wallahi, sad to see this behavior from our brothers and sisters who are going to those court cases to solve their problems. What are we? What are we? What have we become? So be very, very wary of this. Any problems with these two? Good? Number 4. They abandon completely disputes in the matters of the deen. Now what does it mean? Arguing in religious matters in Islam is not allowed and must and should be avoided. You are not allowed to sit down, in other words, and start fighting each other Islamically. I'm right, it's the way it is, and you get angry, you get all raged up, and you get worked up, and you want to kill the guy. Why? What are you doing? Wasn't it meant to fix or give you a solution to what you're asking? So in Islam, you are not allowed to argue. Because arguments, what does it lead to? It leads to the hardening of the hearts. It leads to hatred. It leads to confusion and doubt. It leads to disunity. It leads to disruption and corruption. It leads to devastation and destruction. It really does. It's the ingredients of failure. When you sit down and argue, and I'm pretty sure you have, many of you, when you see a group of people arguing, and that argument becomes or descends into bitterness, or descends into fruitless talk, or gibberish, because you're yelling and you're shouting, that is unacceptable, and this is not da'wah. You're destroying each other. And if you did not have hatred, you would not have shouted and yelled and cried. Because that only comes from anger. And anger usually exists when you have some kind of negativity to the person you're speaking to. And that's not acceptable in Islam. In fact, he warned us that the previous nations went astray due to their indulgence in argumentation. And he said, no people go astray after guidance except that they indulge in arguments. And he said that I guarantee a place in paradise for those who avoid arguments when they are right. If you know, for example, that you're going to reach nowhere with this individual and he's starting to yell and he's getting angry and he's all emotional and he's worked up, stop. Don't continue the debate. You're going to hurt yourself. Don't fall into a predicament. When you're da'wah, when you're teaching someone Islam, if you see that it's incorporating that which is anger and hatred is evident, throwing out nonsense and gibberish, no longer the sense of Qala Allah or Qala Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's just talk and my way and only way, then abandon this kind of argument. Now, I must stop.
So if you see a relative doing evil and you advise him and he gets angry at you, so you shouldn't advise the next one?
If you see someone, your relative doing evil,
Yeah.
yep,
And you advise him.
and you're advising him,
And he gets angry at you.
avoid it.
Next time you shouldn't do it?
No, avoid that sitting immediately. Don't continue. A good example, I see many brothers asking me that when I sit with my father, child to the father, and sometimes I try to explain to my father Islamically, with wisdom, with nice advice, and he gets all worked up and he gets angry and he starts yelling and shouting, then stop. Then stop, don't continue. Because you could lead him to a further problem, which you could even end up doing kufr a'udhu billah. Don't be the reason for that. When you see yourself in a state where that other person that you're trying to help, advice, is not taking heed to what you're saying, and he's completely on a different sort of wave, somewhere else, then you're going to hurt that person if you continue, and you could be the reason for hurting him and for his sin as well. So you should be wise and smart and avoid and withdraw yourself when you see anger in a person, when you talk to him or advise him. And as Malik said it beautifully, he said, disputation and argumentation in sacred knowledge causes the heart to harden and breeds hatred. And wallahi, he's correct. It causes the heart to harden and it breeds hatred. And as the great Ibrahim al-Nakhi, which was the great Tabi, he said, مَا خَصَمْتُ أَحَدًا قَطْ I never argued with anyone. Never. In other words, when there was an argument in his presence, he immediately withdrew himself. He never allowed it to continue, nor did he allow it to be. He stopped it immediately. This is how we should be. Be very, very careful. Why would you argue when you're calling others to Islam? Why would you shut up a person that you're calling to Islam? Why would you get angry with him? If he's ignorant, he's ignorant for a reason. There's a reason for his ignorance. He doesn't know. Do you get angry? Do you get worked up? Do you start shouting at him? No. When you call others to Islam, be compassionate. Have that affection, have that love, have that mercy, have that desire to bring him closer to Allah, to Jannah. Don't get angry. Don't be impatient. You got to be sincere in your da'wah. And this is the way our teacher ﷺ taught us. There was no one as compassionate as him. No one as merciful and patient and sincere as him. So be very careful. And as we know the Quranic verse, ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة. Call to the way of your Lord with wisdom and beautiful preaching. So whenever, this is the key, whenever an argument or a debate descends into bitterness or fruitless talk, avoid that area. Don't stay there. Remove yourself, because you could be committing sin unknowingly. Islam is built on beauty, on good advice, on love, of wanting or unwanting for your brother what you want for yourself. So you don't like to be shouted at, don't shout. You don't like someone to be angry towards you, don't be angry towards him. And never ever be malicious towards anyone. Is that understood? Number 5. We got time? Are you alright, or you want to stop there? Looks like you're all exhausted. Bilal, are you exhausted? Continue?
Continue.
Okay, number 5. Ahlul Sunnah respect the Salaf wholeheartedly. There is no shadow of a doubt in anyone's mind here, and in the whole Ummah in general, that the greatest and the best of mankind after the prophets and messengers were whom? The Sahaba, the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the creation, He looked in the hearts of the children of Adam, and He saw that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had the greatest heart amongst all the creation. So He chose him to be for Himself and the last messenger. And then He looked again at the hearts of the children of Adam, and He saw that the companions had the best hearts amongst mankind. So he chose them to be with the greatest man, the last messenger, subhanAllah. The greatest men with the greatest man that ever existed. So we're talking about here is that the greatest generation, the greatest men and women that ever lived on this earth were indeed the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After whom? After the prophets and after the messengers. The best of mankind are whom? The messengers. The best of those messengers are whom? The 5 messengers of Ulul Azm, those of firm determination and resolve. Who are they? Who can remind us? Number 1, Muhammad sallallahu. Number 2, Isa. Number 3, Musa, no problem. Number 4, Ibrahim. Number 5, Nuh alayhi salam. They are the best creation on this earth. The greatest one is indeed Muhammad sallallahu, and then the 4 other messengers. And then after them come the rest of the messengers. After the messengers come the prophets. After the prophets come who? The companions of Muhammad sallallahu. Now, listen carefully. I would like you to write this down. The most excellent of these companions, inshallah, is as follows. The most excellent. Number 1, there will be 7 or 8 categories. Number 1 are the Khulafa al-Rashidin, Abu Bakr al-Siddiq. Abu Bakr ibn Abi Quhafa al-Siddiq. Number 2 is Umar al-Faruq Abu Hafs ibn al-Khattab. Umar al-Faruq. Umar Abu Hafs ibn al-Khattab al-Faruq. Number 3. Umar al-Faruq. Just mentioning his name makes an earthquake underneath your feet. Radiyallahu anhu. Does it not, Malik? Actually, for the earthquake, is that what you sort of just moved a bit? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Number 3 is no other than Uthman Dhu Nurayn. Uthman Dhu Nurayn ibn Affan. Number 4 is Ali Abu Turab ibn Abi Talib. Ibn Abi Talib. Ali Abu Turab ibn Abi Talib. That's category number 1. Number 2, category number 2. There are the rest that were promised paradise of the 10. So you got the 4, the Khulafa al-Rashidin, and you got 6 that were linked to one narration with them that were promised paradise. Because the hadith says, Abu Bakr fil Jannah, Umar fil Jannah, Uthman fil Jannah, Ali fil Jannah. Now, number 2, category number 2, the rest of them, the other 6. Number 5 is Az-Zubayr ibn al-Awwam. Hadith says, fil Jannah. Az-Zubayr ibn al-Awwam. Az-Zubayr. I forgot you guys. You guys are alright. I'll give you a cup of coffee or something. Az-Zubayr ibn al-Awwam. Number 6, Talha ibn Ubaydillah. Talha ibn Ubaydillah. Talha ibn Ubaydillah. Talha ibn Ubaydillah. Number 7, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. أهلا أهلا وسهلا. حياكم الله وإياكم. العلماء والشيخ. Number 8, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. Sa'd or Sa'dun ibn Abi Waqqas. Abdurrahman ibn Auf. Abdurrahman ibn Auf. And what a Jabal he was, as they all were. Correct? He was a Jabal, was he not? Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Number 9. Sa'id ibn Zayd. Sa'id ibn Zayd. Sa'id ibn Zayd. And we can never ever forget the leader of Al-Qadisiyah. Allahu Akbar. What a mountain he was. What was he? Was he there, yeah, Muhammad? The leader of Al-Qadisiyah? Remind us? Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah. Allahu Akbar. What a wahsh. Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah, and indeed he was a Wahashi Abu Abdullah. Ibn Jarrah, كما ذكر في الحديث. They are the second category. We all got it? And they were all promised Jannah. He said, from Abu Bakr to Abu Ubaidah, fil Jannah, fil Jannah, fil Jannah, fil Jannah. It's a hadith sahih. Number 3, Ahlu Badrin, those who witnessed the Battle of Badr. And there were approximately 310 plus individuals. I'm not going to name them all to you. Maybe Sheikh Abu Abdullah, mashallah, will name to you another time. Because these are Ilm al-Rijal, Allahu Akbar. Ahlu Badrin, they're category number 3. So they come after, in excellence, after the 10. Al-Mubashireen bil-Jannah. Number 4, category number 4, are those who gave the pledge of allegiance. Are those that gave the pledge of allegiance of Ar-Radwan. Those that gave the pledge of allegiance of Ar-Radwan, which was under the tree, as you all know. Have you heard of the pledge of allegiance before, at the time of Hudaybiyah? And that was in the 6th year after the migration. And the reason behind it was to avenge the rumored death of Uthman ibn Affan. It was to avenge the rumored death of Uthman ibn Affan. We can't discuss it right now. Time does not befit us, nor is it for this topic. That was what number? 4. Number 5, Al-Muhajirun. See, the excellence is in sequence. Number 5, Al-Muhajirun, those who left Mecca, they left their belongings, they left their families, they left their wealth, they left everything for the sake of the Almighty Allah and committed hijrah to the land of Medina, Yathrib at that time. Number 6, Al-Ansar. They are category number 6, Al-Ansar. And we all know the Ansar, they were the ones that assisted and supported Al-Muhajirin. Al-Ansar. Number 7 are those who embraced Islam before the conquest of Mecca, قبل الفتح. Those who embraced Islam before the conquest of Mecca. Those who embraced Islam before the conquest of Mecca. And the last but not the least are those, number 8, those who embraced Islam after the conquest of Mecca. Those who embraced Islam after the conquest of Mecca. This is the order of excellence. So he actually gave you more from the start of the messengers to the end of the first generation. As he said, Khairul Kururi Karni, the best of generations, the best of people, the best of mankind after me, or the best of generations in totality, absolutely, is my generation. Is my generation. Did you get that? So this is the sequence of excellence. From Rasulullah as a messenger, to the rest of them, to that, and then to the 10 categories, or 8 categories I just mentioned to you all. We haven't finished the topic about the Sahaba, but the companions. Will continue that next week, inshallah ta'ala. Because, part of respecting them is to understand that we must free ourselves and we must warn against those who slander and curse the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alayhim ma yastahiqqu min Allah. And you all know how deviant and how evil it is to speak anything that is ill about any companion. We'll continue this inshallah ta'ala next week. Is there any questions? You have approximately 10 minutes before prayer. Now,
just one thing, I don't want to dispute or anything.
yes.
There was another selection of Prophet who, he was the Prophet of mercy, but also he was the Prophet of war, which Islam also spread by the sword. Is that right?
Don't read those books of Orientalists.